Welcome to the real life show, Living with a Chronic Illness. We are your hosts, Cassie and Chelsea. I'm Cassie, a single mom living with a chronic illness who is extremely passionate about living a full and happy life.
And I'm Chelsea, a mindset coach that has a passion for helping people learn to put themselves first and be the best version of themselves each and every day.
We came together to create Spoonies Unite, an uplifting community that offers resources, guidance, and support so you can live your best life while giving you the space to be yourself, be heard, and feel understood. We hope that by providing education from experts, we help Spoonies and their loved ones thrive.
This show is not only for those who live with a chronic illness, but their friends, family, spouses, and just anyone else existing on the earth. Our goal is to normalizing having a chronic illness by sharing the real stories with real people and show the world how relatable those everyday struggles can be. There's a little something in here for everyone.
And of course, thank you to our patrons for your continued support making this possible. If you love our show and want to get some extra goodies, go to patreon.com/TheRealSpooniesUnite. Enjoy the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the real life show, Living with a Chronic Illness. Today, we are interviewing Ashley Dawson, who is a writer, actress, and model who works full-time in radio and media in Atlanta, Georgia. Her life has been a struggle with chronic illness almost from day one, and her art and storytelling focuses on the positive ways that sufferers can reclaim their health and happiness, even if their conditions persist. Our bodies do not control us, our attitudes and outlooks do.
We had so much fun talking to Ashley, and I feel like I say that every single time we talk about the people that we're interviewing because they're all just amazing. But Ashley has this energy to her that is so fun to be around, and she does a great job of telling her story of what happened when she was a child and kind of how it comes full circle with all the different things that she's got going on in her life, in her body. We loved talking to her. Her story kind of felt like there was multiple layers to it, that as you listen to the episode, different things come up. So listen to it all the way to the end. Mm-hmm. It's a good one. Spend some time, and you might notice our intro into the actual interview is a little different because we literally just jumped on in because we just started talking right away. It was so great.
Yeah, we were like chatting, freaking hanging out with girlfriends for like a while before recording. Then we're like, shit, we need to record this.
It was a wonderful conversation, and we truly and deeply hope that you enjoy it as much as we did.
Sometimes it's like I don't have a camera on me all the time, so I will recreate them so people can see what I just did. So like, for instance, like you saw me just doing this, and then I got pissed off, and God, then
you need to do it. Yeah.
God, it's like the best way I can explain it is I feel a tug like a string from the bottom of the cup to my chest, and it has to fit right. Otherwise, I'm going to have a heart attack and die. It's really, and I can feel it. Like I can, and I'll sit here and start like ticking out. And people say, they're like, it's Tourette's. And I'm like, I'm not diagnosed Tourette's. They used to call it Tourettic OCD. And my therapist says, yes, like it's a presentation of OCD that looks like Tourette's, but it just presents itself very similar. Mother. And then with the phone thing, I've thought about doing videos like this, but it's just so nauseating to watch me like flip my phone as I'm recording from my phone.
But I kind of love that I can see how much you're moving your phone around, because it almost like, yes, you're not seeing your phone go this way and that way, but I feel like it's a really, really good illustration of how it feels to be like, nope, I gotta look this way, and then I gotta look that way, and then we gotta do this, and we gotta do that. And so I kind of love it. I kind of like just watching that video.
Like, it's funny, I joke that I'm a bird, but like anything shiny, anything perfect, it becomes this physical mechanism where I can't stop looking at it. I'm engaged. I can't wear my ring. If I wear my ring, I can't focus all day because all I do when I'm typing is, and it's, and I love my ring. It's not that I don't like it. It's that I put it on and I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway.
I'm very like fascinated already. I'm like, this is going to be such a great hour.
This is great. I'm so happy.
I know. I plug my phone in eventually because it's going to die, but it's fine. I'll keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Okay. Great.
If you happen to disappear for a second, it'll be okay. All right.
So I've disappeared for 6 months and I've survived, so. Choked on something.
All right. Well, actually, I kind of want to do a different intro into our episode.
I sort of wanted to start it where it started.
I just kind of want to be like, okay, so Ashley, thank you so much for being on our show. We are so excited to get to talk to you today. You have so much energy, and we love you already. You're amazing.
I love you guys.
For real,
Cassie
though.
and Chelsea.
Yay.
So can you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and why you're talking with us today?
Yeah. Wow. I'm honored. So I'm Ashley. I do a lot of stuff, like everything except math.
You do a lot of stuff.
I work full-time in radio. So I actually work for WSB TV in radio in Atlanta. We've been working from home for 6 months, which has led me to many existential crises. So that's been great. But I do like client coordination. I do radio commercials. I work in entertainment full-time basically. And then part-time, I model, act, I do some voice acting, and I do a lot of writing. So I'm actually trained as a writer, and I freelance. But it all kind of molds into this giant social media conglomerate dump of my brain. And the reason I think life has kind of led me to entertainment and to all these different, like, I guess, creative aspects of my career is because literally, like, from the day I was born, I was sick. I've just always been sick. I've always been chronically ill. It's just been one of those, it's just been a constant in my life that has gotten worse as I've gotten older. And to kind of cope with that, I've turned to art and creating, and that's what keeps me going. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I have to burp.
That's fine.
We edit. Don't worry.
We will either edit it out or we won't, because that's fun too.
I prefer burps being left in, but if you edit it out, I won't be offended. It was a solid 2, not a 10.
So Ashley, can you tell our listeners a little bit about like your chronic illness experience, like what diagnoses you've gotten, symptoms that you have? We're ready for it.
I don't think you are, but let's just start from the day I was born. My mom was convinced when she was pregnant with me that I wasn't going to make it, and the doctors kind of were worried about it too. Really, and I very much believe that like your life, those like first moments kind of dictate a lot. And when I was born, like my whole arm was blue. And the doctors took me from her and were like, there's something wrong with this child, but we don't know what it is. And like, she said for 3 days, all she heard was screaming. Like, that's it. They wouldn't let her leave. They kept running tests. They couldn't figure it out until finally she just took me and went home and said, F you guys, it is 1993 and it's obvious that you can't figure it out. So bye. And from then on out, I think the strep infections started almost immediately. I don't know if it was like age 1 or age 2. I think it was 2 that the severe strep infections started, which at first my mom was like, okay, kids get strep, you know? But then it got to the point where it was almost like scarlet fever level, and I was getting it 2 to 6 times a year. So for 20 years, from the age of 2 to like 21, I got it like 2 to 6 times a year, to the point where it was just normal for me. And they would give me Z-Paks and azithromycin and all kinds of antibiotics, to the point where I was like 10 years old and I knew the names of like everything. And so I started presenting with strep. And then around 4 years old was the first time I remember getting my first like OCD sort of moment. And it was very sudden for me. It was like the onset was just quick. And that's what you see in a lot of these kids. And I'll go into that in a second. But I was laying in my bed and I got a little spit on the center of my bed sheets. And I remember this was my exact like thought, and it was so traumatizing. I remember the exact night and thought mechanism. It was, if I don't spit a certain number of times in this bed, right, until it feels right, it was a man who was going to buy my mattress like 42 years later. he had a wife and kids, and he was going to buy my mattress and sleep in it, and he was going to die from the virus in my spit on my bed unless I spit a certain amount of times again. So I kept spitting, but compulsively, because I thought, if I can get this to where it feels right, I'll protect the man in the future who buys my bed, and this kid will have a dad. And it got to the point where I had just a puddle of saliva in my bed that I had to sleep around. And I didn't tell anybody about it because it was so, like, if I told someone about it, it was almost like the job wouldn't be done. Like, I had to keep spitting. So from then on out, it just got worse. And, you know, I had to tap things. I had to wish that my grandfather would die so that he would be protected and not die. And I had to say it out loud. Like, he was coming for my 6th birthday, and I had to stand on a chair and say, I wish he were dead so that he would live. And then he died that year. And I was like, it's my fault. Like, it was just a lot. And it got to the point where I thought I could get AIDS from a toilet seat. I thought that I got AIDS tested in college for no reason because I thought that I could have it. Like, it got to the point where it was getting worse and worse and worse. And people kept telling me, you'll grow out of it. It'll be fine. You know, I never got therapy. And then the tics started coming on strong, like 5 years ago, I would say. The physical twitching, I would start hitting myself and I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop moving. My fiance would have to, like, hold me down so I didn't hurt myself. And then I just got more sensitive to things like that, you know? And if I talk about it, it gets worse. But then I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So I have, like, positive antibodies in my blood that attack my thyroid, which is pretty much under control. I'm on thyroid medication. My levels are normal, but that diagnosis came a few years ago. So I'm like, all right, so I have an autoimmune disease. I want to keep an eye on this, right? And that was, sorry if I jump all over the place. I got my tonsils out at 21 because my last strep infection was so bad that my throat closed up to a point where I almost had sleep apnea and could have choked on my tonsils. And the fevers were like 105 degrees every night. Oh. So I got them taken out, and I haven't had strep since, but my strep antibody tests have come back high a few times, even though I haven't had it. So my current doctor, I go to it's called Center Spring MD. It's like an interdisciplinary medicine doctor. She believes, and she is treating me for pandas. She can't technically diagnose me with it because the test is like $1,000. And because I don't have strep, like, at this moment, it might not even be accurate. So she was like, instead of charging you $1,000 for a test that, like, might not even come back as something I can use, I'm just going to treat you for it. But basically what she thinks happened to me is, for 20 years, I had pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorder due to strep infections.
That's a name.
It's a name, pandas. It's the name, it's the acronym. You know how a lot of these kids, and, like, it's 1 out of 200 kids. You know how with COVID, this was my theory, like, I had to decline a phone call, sorry. This was my theory, like, from the beginning with COVID. This was what I was scared about. There are children, I think I heard of at least a few cases in New York of children getting encephalitis of the brain when they got COVID. And essentially what it is, and I'm not a doctor, I don't know the link between this, but with pandas, what happens is you get strep, and the strep triggers an autoimmune response from your immune system that attacks your basal ganglia and causes brain damage that causes OCD, Tourette's, tics, movements. You lose motor control. A few years ago, I started not being able to, like, control my handwriting as well. And it's not horrible, but it's to a point where, like, I would get shaky trying to pick things up. And my grandmother died of Parkinson's, and I was like, I'm shaking. I don't like this. And I went to a doctor at Emory. They did a bunch of MRIs. They couldn't figure it out. And then I was sitting there, and they were having me do all those movement tests and walk up and down and all that stuff. And she just kept staring at me. And I was like, what are you looking at, Nancy? And then she just kept bringing in nurses and doctors. And she was like, come look at this. Let me get an intern in here. And I was like, can we not?
Like, can you tell me what you're thinking about?
Yeah, like really, and they couldn't figure it out. And they were like, we think you need to see a psychogenic movement disorder. And I looked it up and it was basically like all in your head. And I'm like, all right, that's cute, but I really want to get to the bottom of what's going on without spending a ton of money. And, you know, I had doctors at Emory that claimed they had done every test they could possibly do. This was before I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, and I knew something was autoimmune. My gynecologist said it was definitely autoimmune, but she couldn't figure it out. Nobody could figure it out. And the doctors were like, have you tried working on your depression? Like, we've tested everything that we can test. And I was like, I'm sorry that I just don't believe you. And then I went to a different rheumatologist, diagnosed me with Hashimoto's, diagnosed me with fibromyalgia, IBS. And then, of course, I have OCD. I'm diagnosed with depression, but I work on that shit. And this PANDAS thing almost, it was an answer and it wasn't, because she can't formally diagnose me with it because, for one, when I was born, the disease wasn't recognized or discovered. It was discovered in 1998. I was born in 93. So by the time that I started displaying all these issues, science wasn't even there. And even after something is discovered, it takes, God, decades to even understand it, basically. So to this day, doctors don't recognize PANDAS as a formal diagnosis a lot of the time, even though it is. You know, these antibodies and this mechanism has been discovered in kids. But then on top of that, the time to diagnose me was when I was, 6 or 7, or even a teenager, when I had strep and it was flaring and they could see the test results. So now I'm almost stuck with this, most likely, that I'm being treated for, that I want to be able to be open and talk about because it explains everything. But it's hard because I always put that disclaimer, like, I'm not technically diagnosed. She's convinced. She's 99% there. She's treating me for it. She considers me a PANDAS patient, a PANDAS adult patient. But, it's still considered a pediatric disease, and I'm 26. So I've kind of got to just assume that this happened to me for 20 years, and that's the repercussions of what I'm living with. Hi.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot to,
but
it's a lot to dive into.
There's definitely like a correlation, I think, and I want to say, I don't know, like, I know a lot of people will be able to relate in the fact that you can't have this like definitive diagnosis of PANDAS, because that's just so the case for so much. Like, with Lyme, I mean, that's a huge example of where it's like so many people cannot get potentially a positive Lyme test because you have to get that test like when you get bit by the tick, and a lot of people don't even know they got bit, and all this stuff. And so there's all this, like, kind of like you said, like, doctors may not, credit it and everything because of the testing. And yet it's like, no, Lyme is real. Lyme exists. You have it. And even
credit it because this is how I feel. Like, figure out a way to credit it because this needs treatment.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I mean, endometriosis is another huge one that you usually have to have surgery, laparoscopy to like definitively diagnose that you have endometriosis. But there's like thousands and millions of women who are like, this is what's going on. So it's I mean, I know that a lot of people are going to relate to you where it's like, I'm being treated for this. They are sure it's this, but there's some kind of like faulty test system or whatever that, won't let it be like a definitive diagnosis.
It's also, I think you guys posted something the other day about like that in between, right? Like, I can function and I can mask it. But like right now I'm okay. But like this morning I woke up and for 2 hours, I woke up at like 10. It was about 11:30 before I could even get out of bed because my throat hurt. My whole body hurt. My brain was foggy. I couldn't focus. I felt like I had the flu, and that's every single day. And it got to the point where I'd wake up and couldn't get up my stairs, or I'd be covered in rashes. I would get the butterfly rashes everywhere, and people were just like, but you come to work and you're so happy. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm distracting myself. Like, why do you think I'm on social media 24/7? It's not because I have to have attention from other people. It's because I feel less alone. Like, I feel like shit when I'm posting. But then when I post something and people are like, this is cool, I'm like, I guess I can be cool even though I feel like throwing up right now.
Yeah, I totally get that. And that that post also like really spoke to my heart, where it's like, yeah, you're not sick enough to be like where everyone knows that you're sick, but you're not like well enough to be functionable. And because even like as you were talking, I'm sitting here, I'm only sitting on my left butt cheek, my right butt, I can't put any pressure on. And then additionally, like I feel like I can't catch my breath today. And like I also feel like my ears are like clogged, my throat kind of hurts, and I feel like someone is trying to like squeeze my head into like a helmet that's too small. And so it's like, and then I sit there and I'll be like, I just need some more water, this water will make me feel better, and I'll like
See,
take a
I would
sip.
never know that. Like, I'm looking at you, you
Right.
look great, and you're
Mhm.
but it's just, as a chronically ill person, you look around you and you see the person, but then you're also like, I wonder how they feel today. And that's not what everyone does. Most people don't do that. They just look at them and go, oh, they look cute.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
and that's exactly like part of the message that we're wanting to spread, and why we're like, the real life show is kind of those real life moments of just, yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm like, and I have these little snacks where I'm like, okay, will I be less nauseous if I eat, or maybe I shouldn't eat anymore? Then I'm like, I haven't eaten for like 16 hours. I should probably eat. Maybe that's why my head feels pressured. And you're like going through
you can
all
never
that.
tell where it's coming from. Is it because I
Yeah.
haven't eaten, or is it because I feel sick? Like, which one is it? I can never
Mhm.
tell. And then with all this COVID stuff, I'm like, do I have COVID? No, bitch.
I
Calm
know.
down.
I know, but that's for real. I mean, there was a moment that I sat there like, oh my God, is it this? And then I also, my mind will get like stressed out because I'll be like, well, shit, you know, I have to work tomorrow morning. Like, I feel like crap right now and I have to work tomorrow morning. Like, what am I going to do? And then it's like the next day can be a completely different day. I could feel fine when I wake up, or I could feel like death walking. And so, I mean, it is there, like you said, there's a connection to be made when you do like talk about this stuff on social media. It is a distraction. So sometimes when you're just like, I don't even want to be in my own head right now. So I'm going to scroll the gram, and I'm going to either be like, I'm not alone, other people are going through this too. Or I'm going to be like, yeah, I want those cute shelves in my room too. And like, I love that outfit. And yes, if I buy this, I will feel better, you know?
And people like don't understand. Like, I work in media full time. It's what I love, and I love it for a reason, because if I feel sick and I'm in bed and I can't move, I can still be productive. I can sit there and post, or I can work on a website, or I can help a client write a blog, or I can listen to a podcast, or I can record something. I don't have to get out of my bed and drive or walk or do anything. I mean, it's a sense of freedom, right? Being able to pick up your phone and see whatever you want, do whatever you want, interact with your friends. Like, it's freedom for somebody who moving your body hurts. You know, you can practice with your mind and your creativity without having to stress your body out if you need to rest. It's nice. It's just nice.
It is freedom.
When people hate on social media and say like, oh, like people just want attention, social media generation, I'm like, what's wrong with attention? When did attention become bad?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Don't get me wrong. There's a difference between, you know, basing your entire life on the attention that other people give you, and then wanting to give and receive positive attention. Like, you tell someone, you look great today, and they're like, wow, queen, thank you. What's wrong with that? That's great.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I know like some people might be like, well, it's just like, it's such a fake world out there. And it's like, well, you know what? Like, at least for our account, it is authentic AF. I mean, like when Chelsea and I are the only people on our social media, you know, we don't have a social media team or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But like, we are interacting with our people. We text each other about a comment that was left or a DM, and we're like, oh my gosh, you know, can you believe that so-and-so is going through this or whatever. It's like, it is authentic for us, and it is connection, and we feel like those people are in a sense like partly some kind of family with us, like our community. And so yeah, I totally feel you. We are, I mean, Chelsea and I are in total agreement with you about that.
And I like social media, and I love the conversation we're having right now, because for someone like me who, I mean, everyone has days where they wake up feeling like crap, or they feel tired, or their body hurts or anything, but it's not my everyday. And so getting to hear stories that you both are sharing right now of like, oh yeah, I feel like shit today, or this, it's good for me to hear. And I hope that other people that are listening that maybe don't have a chronic illness diagnosis, that they can listen to it and they can better empathize and better understand that not everyone is going through the same shit every single day, and that's okay. Everyone's shit that they're going through, whether it's good or bad, is completely valid. But I think it can help have people empathize. Like, Ashley, I really loved how you said if you're chronically ill, you look at someone and you're like, oh yeah, they look cute. I wonder if they feel okay today. Where like someone else might look at them and be like, oh, they look cute. And that's as far as their brain goes. And so I know Cassie and I are really passionate about normalizing the experience of having a chronic illness, because I mean, out there, if you start asking people, most people have some sort of chronic condition out there. Like,
you really do.
I kind of think that that's more the norm than not having one.
Especially as you get older, like if you hit a certain age and you haven't had something, I'm like, wow, what did you do? Because I want to do that.
Right?
I know.
What did you do right? What are your genes?
Yeah.
But I think that like, I know if down the road the mind process that we go through and we see someone goes to, I hope that they feel okay today, would be so huge, because one, I think it would make the world a better place. We'd all be so much nicer and more compassionate with each other compared to just, oh, like they look fine on the outside. Because I know, even though I think Cassie posted about this in our social media recently, like we both struggle with anxiety. Yeah. So there's days on the outside I look completely fine, on the inside my head is like, and I'm like, holy fuck.
Anxiety is a chronic illness. Anxiety is a chronic illness. 100%.
And so while mine doesn't like impact my life on a daily basis, like it's never kept me in bed all day, it's definitely something that's like an extra layer. And everyone's got something, whether it's they're struggling with, how do I pay my bills? How am I going to help this person? Like everyone's got something going on in their life that they're worried about. And so I love that idea of, don't just look at someone for how they appear on the outside. Like think about what's going on inside their head. How do they feel?
Plus there was, I think I also a while ago, but I still have it saved in my camera roll. It was like hashtag like, but you look great. Hashtag sick, not ugly. You know?
Right.
And I was like, for real though.
Yeah.
Sometimes like there are days, by the way, I never point them out. I just do them. But looking out my window, it's hard for me to maintain eye contact. I look out where light is, and then I'm touching my chest, but you can't see that.
Interesting. I didn't even notice you looking away.
Yeah. I work it in. That's why I try to say that mine is more Tourettic OCD, because there is I can't control it happening. But the process of doing it, I feel like there is a little bit of control in how I do it. Because I know I need to get it done, so I can't control that I'm going to do it. But as I weave it into conversation, my brain has gotten smart about masking it. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like, and I don't have Tourette's, I won't speak for people with Tourette's. So if this is wrong, don't quote me. I feel like with Tourette's, there's less of that ability to control how you do it. It just happens in that moment. I don't know though. I'm just speaking to me. But I was going to say about like hashtag sick, not ugly. First off, I don't think anyone's ugly, but I think that's hilarious. And I also think that like on the days where I feel my sickest, sometimes like I wake up and I put on a bunch of makeup and some really cute clothes because I want to feel better. So then when people see me looking really good, they think I'm feeling really good. And a lot of the times the correlation is the opposite, because if I'm feeling really good, the last thing I want to do is put on a bunch of makeup. I might want to go try to jog, you know? It just depends.
Dude. Okay. 100%. Literally, that's what I did this morning. So when I was like waking up and I was like, my ears feel weird, my head, like I really do feel like someone is trying to like squeeze me into a medieval suit of armor and everything is heavy and squishy. And then, and then I was like, people do have to stop doing that. And then I was like, I don't want to like do anything. And then I was like, no, I want to show up for this podcast. And I went and I put on some eyeliner and a little bit of highlighter. And I was like, because then I'm going to like feel better. So I literally did that this morning too, of like,
girl, that's what I did.
Because I feel like shit.
I looked at all the red spots on my face and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have popped those last night. But also I feel like crap. Let's just put on a little makeup. Mm-hmm. And yes, I look like Casper the Friendly Whore, but also it's kind of cute. Let's go with it.
Friendly Whore.
Well, see, I like this because to me, like the days where I feel extra tired and not very good, I'm like, yes, I'm putting on my comfiest clothes, I'm wearing my glasses, I'm putting my hair up in a bun, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, I literally don't give a fuck. I'm comfy. But then the days where I'm like, yeah, I feel really good, I feel confident, I feel happy, I feel excited, those are the days where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get my cute clothes out, I'm gonna do my hair, I maybe will put some jewelry on.
See,
and so I think that's interesting that if like
it's like opposite.
Yeah, it's like if you're more used to having to deal with not feeling good, and because if you don't feel good more often, yes, you're going to come up with coping mechanisms to make yourself feel a little bit better. And so I think that's so fascinating that it would be a little bit opposite for me.
Ashley made a good point of saying that it's like if you are feeling good and you have that bit of energy, you use it for something else. Yeah. Like I also would be like, I'm gonna fucking work out today, you know?
Yep.
Okay, so now like, anytime I see someone that's like their makeup is perfect, they're doing all, I'm gonna be like, oh, you're feeling good today, or they're gonna be like, you're not feeling good, right? You're not.
Who hurt you today?
You all right? What do you need?
Yeah.
Do you need a hug? Well, we can't hug with COVID.
I also want to make #Casper the friendly whore a thing. I need to text my friend because she's like, she loves the kind of like pale skin, you know, that's like her look, man. She will not go in the sun without a hat. Love her. And I really want to be like, dude, this is like your thing, you know.
I used to be tan. I used to be a collegiate like cross country runner. I used to run like 60 miles a week in the sun. And then about 5-6 years ago, when this shit really started to hit the fan, people were like, what happened to you? Because like I got so pale, I couldn't run anymore. It was hard to get up my stairs, but I looked at my skin and I was like, I have less wrinkles. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, there's a silver lining.
Dude, every year that she gets older, she looks younger, like quite literally. And everyone in our friend group or even distant friend group, like all talk about how beautiful her skin is. And this is a shout out to Jessica, if you're listening.
Jessica, she just called you out.
Yeah, she was one of our first interviews.
Yeah, she was.
Gosh,
she has like the
I'm
best
really
skin
pale,
on earth.
and this is making me want to go wear a hat outside more often.
Dude, you should. It like really is like the trick. And I love the sun. I mean, I'm naturally more olive skin. So I kind of like, I naturally am a bit, you know, darker in that sense anyway. But she does yell at me. She's like, put a hat on. And I'm like, I want all the sun. You know, I'm a Leo. I need to bask in it.
I'm a Leo. I'm a Scorpio. We're crazy as hell.
I don't think I know any Scorpios.
Oh, that's funny because everyone I know is a Scorpio, and that's probably why I have no friends. We can't get along with each other.
Really?
It's okay, about getting like strong personalities together in the same space. It's just hard to deal.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna like it's this rare combination of we're probably all going to create something amazing and save the world, and then tell each other to fuck off right after. Like that's exactly what a Scorpio group is.
I love that. I love that. Yeah,
and we all have to like have the reunions to talk about the thing we made, and we're like middle fingering each other across the aisle. Yeah. Good.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
Hey everyone, I know you're all cozy listening to our episode, but I wanted to take a moment to let you know how you can become even more cozy with some Spoony merch. All right, so we got a merch store. Hopefully you've looked at it. If you haven't, that's okay. That's why I'm telling you about it now. We got some cool stuff on there. There's sweatshirts, there's long sleeve shirts, there's t-shirts, there's tank tops, there's stuff that just says the real life show living with a chronic illness, so you can rep our podcast. But there's also stuff on there to just celebrate the Spoony life you are living. We've got comfy stuff with, this is my all out of spoons outfit. So when you're not feeling your best, you can get all comfy cozy with a shirt that tells the world that you ain't feeling great and leave you alone, if that's your thing. We've also got stuff to help inspire you. I have a long sleeve shirt from our merch store that says dream, be happy, seek fulfillment, live your best life. And every time I put on that long sleeve shirt, I just feel so inspired and ready to take on the world. And it just reminds me that there's great stuff happening. So if you are interested in getting some Spoony merch of your own, you can either head over to our website, therealspooniesunite.com, or the easiest thing is honestly just to swipe up or swipe down or whatever direction you need to get to the show notes, because the link will be there. Now back to the show. So Ashley, you started talking about this a little bit earlier of how you mask your like OCD symptoms because like the entire time we've been talking, we see you on video and it just seems like you're talking. You're just talking to us. And now you're moving your phone, which I love being able to visually see. Yeah, I have to do this. I think it's the best visual representation.
I just did. It's good, bad, good. So I like odd numbers, and I really have no control over what number feels good that day. But for the last like 5 years, it's been threes. Ooh, don't like that. So basically, the best way I can describe it is that if I do this wrong, I can feel the pull in my chest and it feels like something hurts. But it's good, bad, good, and then 2 sets of 2 to make bad, good, bad, good. So I do the foam 3 times, that's a good, and then a set of 2 makes bad, good, and then another set of 2 makes bad, good, and that's 3, 2, 2, 3 times. That third, everything lines up. And so my life kind of works in that set of odd numbers. So like 3 times is 9, 9 3 times is 27, 7 plus 2 is 9. Everything around me has to fit into that triad of like 3. And that's where I'm at right now. And my life has been a phase of like numbers that I like and don't like. And then those numbers trickle down into my tics, into my tapping, into my looking out the window, into my looking in the mirror, into clicking my seatbelt, into everything I do that requires some type of like physical motion. The last few years have been groups of 3. I remember as a kid, it was groups of 4. So like 16 was good, 4 and 2 and 8. But now things that are even make my blood boil half the time. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So I kind of have a question, like so you have a fiance.
I do.
So how long have you guys been together? And I'm curious if like, do you need to like impart any of this on him, like him doing stuff certain ways? Does it bug you? Like, how is that?
Yeah.
How does that work with someone else, living with someone else?
And I'm sorry, I don't know if Chelsea, you had a question that I interrupted.
No, I was just saying like it was saying like how you mask it, which is kind of what we were still talking about. So
got it.
Sorry,
so
I
yes.
changed the topic. Sorry.
So I do have a fiance. We've been together going on 8 years. Yeah, 8 years. We're old. He's lovely. And I would say that no, it doesn't bother me when other people do things, because a lot of my OCD, and this is something people don't understand, they'll do something and they're like, oh, did that bother you? And I'm like, no. Are you stupid? Like, because I'm like, stop moving my pencils, Diane. Like, seriously. And because what a lot of mine is very physical. So it's the feeling of what I'm doing. So when I tap a doorknob, I feel it in my fingertips and it feels wrong. So I've got to tap it a second time. And then to even it out, that third tap, everything goes back to normal. But if my fiance taps a doorknob, I don't feel it. The vision of it doesn't bother me. And it very much depends on the quirk, because I tried to sit down one day in college and write out all of them, and I got like 4 pages deep, front and back, small handwriting, and I couldn't do it anymore. There's too many of them. But a lot of it these days is extremely physical. So if he does something, I don't feel it in my body, so it doesn't bother me as much. Now, if I hug somebody, like if I hug him, that I feel, and I'll have to hug him 3 times. Or if somebody shakes my hand, if somebody touches me, they'll have to touch me again because I felt it. But if they like tap something, I don't feel it. And it, a lot of my OCD, there's a lot of different ways to categorize OCD. And what people don't understand is there's OCPD and there's OCD. So there's obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which is, I like my books straight and I like things color coded, and I would prefer to make my bed every morning because it bothers me if it's not made. That's OCPD. That's a personality thing, and it's something that most people have. Like, most people do a lot of that stuff, and it can be more severe or not. And people confuse that with a obsessive compulsive disorder diagnosis, which is what I have, which is a combination of everything I'm describing to you physically, and intrusive thoughts. And I have those too. I used to have those horribly as a kid, as a teenager, and I still have them, but thankfully with talk therapy, those have been replaced mostly with these physical compulsions. But the physical compulsions, for instance, the heart attack, right? If I don't do something, I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. That heart attack is an intrusive thought. A lot of the thoughts are sexual, violent. They have to do with diseases, death. My entire life I've had nothing but it tends to be the opposite of what you want, right? I would go to sleep crying at night as a kid because I would be attending my family's funerals. That's not normal. You know, I would see people die violent deaths in my head, or I would see myself murdering people like as a 12 or 14-year-old because I stayed up too late watching America's Most Wanted, and then my brain was like, if you don't tap this doorknob, somebody's going to die because of you. Like that's and that's the shameful part a lot of people don't talk about. You know, OCD can be all these tics and compulsions and numbers like I do, but it's also it can also be a combination of that in the intrusive thoughts, which is what I have, or it can be purely the intrusive thoughts with no physical components, but I have both. I've noticed that people tend to think OCPD is OCD, and they also tend to think that like not making my bed or not washing something is what sets me off, and that's like just generalized. And the shame comes in when people with severe OCD don't want to say, hey, I walked past somebody walking a stroller and had a vision of me running them over. And I cried for 30 minutes in my car on the way home because I would never do that. And my OCD made me see it. Because it's not, you know, don't get it confused. It's not a compulsion to do that thing. It is purely an image in your head that your brain is forcing you to replay over and over that you would never want to see. And you have to watch it like a movie. And it's traumatizing, especially as a child, when you would never hurt a fly and your brain is replaying like gory images in your head because you have to watch it again and again. And that's the shameful part that nobody wants to admit, because people will be like, oh, like you're a sociopath, or, oh, you're crazy. And it's like, no, those are not things I want to be seeing. But like, if I don't tap this doorknob, this person's going to get AIDS. Like there's no rational way to explain that to most people when they think that OCD is making your bed.
Gosh, you have explained this like so eloquently and beautifully. I feel like I have so much more of an understanding of what OCD really is, and I had no idea about that being part of it. And I mean, so first, like, thank you for like sharing all of that to that depth, because that, like, I completely understand why you need to bring awareness to this so that people can have a better understanding. Because you're right. I think the common thing is like, oh yeah, it's going to bother you in your mind if that's not just right on the bookshelf and all that.
These kids think they're monsters. I grew up my whole life thinking I was a monster. Like nobody thought like me. I was alone. I was a horrible person, because your OCD convinces you there's a huge, huge guilt complex, especially as a kid. And I had this thing where I had to admit everything I did wrong to my mom. Otherwise, I was just like the worst person, to the point where I wouldn't even do something wrong and I would be admitting something someone else did just in case I did it. There's a huge guilt complex. And I think that the shame comes from, because who's going to want to sit there and say, I envisioned myself jumping off a cliff today, but I'm not suicidal. It's just the vision that keeps replaying in my head. Like, who's going to admit to that without some level of, wow, people are going to shame me, you know? So nobody talks about it because it's easier to let people think. I find myself joking about it, like, haha, I'm so OCD, because it's easier to let people think it is about making my bed and it's not about, you know, blood and violence and tapping and diseases. Like, it's easier for people to think that my brain is just clean, you know?
Yeah. So when did you, so like you just said, like you would talk to your mom about getting this out. What age were you, and what was it like when, I guess maybe I want to ask, like, was there a time that you were able to start being open about this and then help kind of came in, or some, like, did your mom take you somewhere, then you were like, oh my gosh, this is what's going on? Like, what was your process of getting your diagnosis for OCD?
So I was out of my house. I didn't receive therapy as a child or a teenager. When I graduated high school, I went to college. And the first like 6 months of my college career, I was okay. Mostly because, like, as you grow up, and this is for anybody with a chronic illness, a mental illness, you adapt, right? Like, you adapt and it seems normal to you. And then as things started to get worse, you know, I started to kind of spiral a bit. I had a breakup. I had a lot of depression. I never had like a drinking problem, but I started partying a bit more. And I was like, and I have a history. This is also not something I usually talk about, because a lot of people have judged me about it in the past, but I grappled with eating disorders as a teenager, which, you know, with the pandas thing, pandas can cause kids to just stop eating. it's like a lot of this stuff is just, it just kind of comes full circle. You know, we get blanketed with depression and eating disorders, but it's like, where did those things come from?
The root cause.
Yeah. What's the cause? And so, you know, this brain condition I may or may not have causes kids and teenagers to just, I don't want to eat today. Like, and it leads to eating disorders. And so as that started to get worse, I was like, all right, so I need to see somebody, because when I get sad, I stop eating and I can't control it and I don't understand it. And I don't want to be that way. So I started seeing a therapist when I was 18, 19. It was shortly after I started dating my fiance. And I started to go regularly. And then for a couple of years, I bounced back and forth between a couple of different therapists until finally my weight hit a point where I wasn't making progress. And I was like, I need to go see somebody for real about this whole not eating thing. And in college, I signed myself into an outpatient facility for eating disorders. And they did a full psychological evaluation on me. And the psychologist diagnosed me with obsessive compulsive disorder, EDNOS, and I think minor, I can't remember if it was minor depressive disorder or whatever they used for like some type of depression. And so I did treatment there for like 3 months. And then after that, it was another tale of like trying to find a therapist that really worked for me until I settled on the one I have now for like the last few years. So that was around between 18 and 22. And at 21, I got my tonsils out. And around 21, 22, kind of within that range, I always knew I had OCD, but the technical paperwork I think was signed when I was like 19 or 20, something around there. But until that point in my life, I'd kind of just had this the entire time. And, you know, teachers in school would try to send me to special groups. You know, in third grade, they don't say, hey, we're sending you to a school psychologist. They say, hey, you know, there's this special class that all these kids go to because they're really cool and like really want to go. And my parents would be like, no, there's nothing wrong with my kid. And so that was and they didn't know any better. Like, they're very much like a don't mess with our child. Like, therapy can mess with the brain. Like, so that was kind of my childhood growing up, you know, people trying to do what was right by me by making me feel normal, when in reality there is no normal, you know. And we all have to have help based on our specific needs. And a lot of that makes me really, really scared to be a parent one day. It's like I'm 26 and one day I do want to have a kid, and I'm like, well, the chances are with my background, this child is going to have some hurdles. And I'm like, I really hope that my hurdles don't get in the way of their hurdles, and then I don't want to say anything that makes them upset. And I'm like, stop overthinking it, bitch.
I know. But that's like true story. I'm a mom. I have a 12-year-old, and like, I mean, I definitely have fears of like, because my mom was really sick. My mom died at the age of 55. And so then sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, is my line of genetics like no bueno? And then I'm like, is he going to have, you know, something like what I have? And it sometimes is a fear. So far, he has shown none of those signals. And I just remind myself like everything's fine. But when you get afraid, and this goes for like all parents, any parent that is listening or to be future parents, it's like you get so afraid of, yes, like putting your stuff onto your kid, or like, how is it, like you said, like your things and your obstacles, is it going to get put on them? And there is a moment in time, and this was just like 2 years ago, that I almost had like a moment. I don't remember where I actually got this from, but I got it from someone, maybe listening to a podcast. And they were basically like, just accept the fact that like you are going to make mistakes, in the sense that your kid is going to love certain things about their childhood and you as a parent, and there's going to be things that they want to change. And that's just the way it is. And I was kind of like, oh my God, my mom was like the best mom ever and the best person walking earth. And yet there's still things that I would have done a little bit differently. And it doesn't take away from her as a parent at all, you know, not even in the least. And I was like, wait, okay, that's like how this goes. And so, anyways, for any like parents who might be listening, that's just a little tidbit that helps.
First off, thought you were 25, but whatever.
My God, I'm 32. But I do look a lot younger than I am. I have kind of like a young look, which I'm hoping that keeps lasting me into like you know? But yeah, I'm 32, and yeah, most people do think I'm like early 20s, and I'm like, I have a 12-year-old, and they're like,
what?
They're like, let me back it up. But even if I back it up to as early as I think you are, you're still having a kid at 13, and that doesn't work.
Like at the school though, sometimes I swear to God, like going in for like parent teacher conferences, and I'll just make sure that I have my like slightly deeper voice, my, like really good vocabulary, just to kind of feel like, hey, listen, I'm older than I look, okay?
Drawing a few wrinkles on your forehead just to kind of fake it.
I know. Like I've been waiting for the little like crow's feet around the eyes to be like, yes, you know, like now
we just pissed off so many people listening, I'm sure.
I know, for real. But I was a little bit, I have one gray hair. It's one, there's one of them.
Like there's one somewhere in there.
There's one, and I'm like, I'm not pulling that fucker out. I need it, you know, it gives me credit.
I like that. You keep that fucker in. We all need that one fucker.
That's right. You know, exactly. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I need the street cred.
I know, I need the street cred with my one gray hair. Yeah. And a lot of my clients, like if they later find out that I'm like 32, they're like, oh my God, I thought you were so much younger. And so anyway, that led me off of the train of thought that I had for asking another question, darn it.
I'm good at that.
Yeah. Chelsea, do you have any while I try and remember mine?
I mean, pointing out that I'm looking out the window.
Yeah, so you got this diagnosis after finding somebody, and then which because I was kind of curious about what age you got that diagnosis, obviously with living with it for so long. Yeah. And then you talked about the Hashimoto's and the IBS, but you were saying that you're on a medication, and so that is like doing well and kind of in control, which that's huge. That's really nice.
The thing about the Hashis is it was never like, I feel like a lot of women, and this is something that I hate, a lot of women have to be out of control before they're diagnosed with Hashis. Like they don't test for Hashis and then test your thyroid. They test your thyroid, and until it's dying, they don't test for Hashis. Yeah. And for me, they always tested my thyroid levels, but because they were normal, they never tested for Hashimoto's, even though I have a family history. And so I was like, why aren't you testing for everything? And they're like, well, your levels are all fine. I'm like, that doesn't matter. Like when you're testing for the autoimmune disease, you're testing for the antibodies to see if it's there. I want to know if I have the disease, even if it's not killing my thyroid yet. Like one day it probably will when I'm like 50. And if I can start taking care of it better now, let's do that preemptively. And my doctors were like, well, if your thyroid's not out of whack like that, yeah, there's no way all your symptoms would be due to that. And I'm like, well, I feel like hell and you haven't tested for this thing. And I went to a new doctor who tested it without even like asking me, and it was positive. And he's like, just because your levels are not off yet does not mean that your thyroid is not going to die. Like it's on a slippery slope, and one day it is not going to work. And that's just the deal. Like, let's milk it for what it's worth as long as it's working, give you a little bit of the thyroid hormone to help it stay alive longer. But the bottom line is, like, through possible pregnancy and through the rest of my life in middle age and menopause, like, there's going to be some big issues that I didn't want to be surprised by. So not to mention the fact that a lot of women that I know, they had huge problems conceiving because they had Hashis. And the minute that they got on the medication, they got pregnant. And it's like, if in the next 5 or 10 years, I want to have a child and I'm trying and nothing is working, at least I know this issue now and it's being taken care of. So that's not getting in the way. And I say 5 or 10 years, it's probably 5 years. Fuck, I'm 26. Shit. Anyway, I keep thinking I'm 20.
I know, right?
I understand how you feel. I'm 26 too. And we keep talking about having kids at some point. And I've always been like, 5 years, 5-ish years. And then I realized, I'm like, well, if I wanted to have kids when I'm around 30, that is now less than 5 years away. And
right. We finally decided on the age of like 32 to start. And most women that I hear, they're like, that's so old to start. And I'm like, 32?
It's not old. I don't think it's old at all.
If my eggs are falling out of my body at 32, then newsflash, like, I'm not having kids because something's wrong.
Totes. My mom was 33 when she had me. And then one of my really good friends who's got 4 kids had her 4th at, I want to say maybe 34, turning 35. So
I want to have a couple in that little few year range. I want to adopt one, then I want to call it a day.
Nice. Oh my gosh. I'm also really glad that you told us about this, about your diagnosis process with Hashimoto's, because like that is something that I think all people with chronic illness, especially like autoimmune diseases, like we all share that, like the diagnosis process is redonkulous.
It's shit.
It's really bad. The things that you have to like go through to get there. And especially for thyroid stuff, like I had hypoactive thyroid for quite some time and took a thyroid medication. This was a few years ago, but to get the correct test, I ended up getting test results that showed that the thyroid was slipping, kind of thing, like you were saying. But she would have me, I had to record like my temperature morning and night, and like I actually don't even remember the whole process, but it was like a week-long process, and watching to see where the temperature was going. And I would like give this in, and at a certain point, then I went to get the blood test, and that's how we were able to track that it wasn't right. And like a week later, it was like right.
Did they even test you? Did they even test you for Hashimoto's?
No, they didn't test me for Hashimoto's.
80% of hypothyroidism is caused by Hashimoto's, because it's not the same thing. People think Hashimoto's and hypothyroid are the same thing. No, hypothyroid, it is just a side effect. Hashimoto's means your immune system is attacking your thyroid. And it can go like, it's this entire spectrum. Graves' disease and Hashi's are super similar. Your immune system's attacking your thyroid. And in the first part of the disease for Hashi's, like your thyroid actually leaks hormone when it's being attacked, which means that it could be higher and you could be getting skinnier and like be hot all the time. Then slowly, as it's attacked to a point where it's just dying and can't work anymore, you start gaining weight because it's not leaching it. It's leached all of it out, and now it doesn't have any left and it can't work. So it's like, really, people are doing this ass backwards. They're testing for all the symptoms, and if you don't have the symptoms, they don't test for the disease. We should be testing for the disease first, then following the symptoms to a point, because we can cut it off at the source that way. A lot of people who have Hashi's may not even have symptoms yet. Like, we don't know.
Yeah, that's really fascinating, to kind of, and especially the way that you've described it. And like often with like autoimmune stuff, it can come in threes, is what they kind of like say. And funnily enough, you know, I had that hypothyroid. I went on a thyroid medication. It helped a little. Then it was later that I got my Crohn's diagnosis. And then later again after that, around maybe like, I guess it must have been around 8 months later, I started an immune suppressant. When I got on the immune suppressant, I started having all this like crazy ass chest pain. And we found out that I had to stop taking the thyroid medication because it was causing me this like crazy bad chest pain. I kept thinking I was having a heart attack. It was awful.
Oh yeah.
And so funnily enough, it was almost like the immune suppressants treating my Crohn's may have like balanced out whatever was going on with the thyroid. And so it's just like really interesting how, you know, how the body works. And with you having Hashimoto's, like, so do you have diet restrictions? Are you following a certain diet?
Yeah, like I am gluten-free 100%. Like, and I've had like with the IBS and stuff, I know it's gross, but like I have multiple bouts of diarrhea every single day. Like it's pretty bad. And it got to a point where I was eating wheat and gluten and stuff, and to the point where I couldn't even drive home. I was in so much pain, like crying, like my stomach hurts so bad. I get bloated, I get gassy, I can't digest things very well. Like there's just a whole list of foods I can't eat, which I personally feel like led a lot to my eating disorder, because food hurt. You know, when food hurts, you don't want to eat it. People are so quick to like judge girls who don't want to eat. And it's like, can you please get to the bottom line of why they don't want to eat? Like, of course, EDs are a psychological thing. I've been diagnosed with body dysmorphia. I get it. But there might also be some underlying conditions where it's like, well, how does your body feel right now? And for me, it's like, I'm on a strict diet, but it's really hard because most days I wake up and there's like safe foods I can eat body wise, you know, how I feel. And a lot of foods are unsafe. I mean, it really depends on how I wake up feeling. Like if I eat a full cooked plate of food, I'll be miserable and in pain for like 6 hours. I'll be on the toilet. Like I'll be bloated. Like I can't focus. I'll have to lay down in bed with an ice pack. I mean, like I can't just eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, hot meals. It kills me. So I have to like snack and make sure I get in my calories. Like with shakes and protein and whatever I can. But I have to eat really bland, safe foods that, you know, and it's not about weight. It's just about pain tolerance and maintenance and what I can do, what feels good, you know? Some nights I have ice cream for dinner because it feels better.
Totally. I mean, that's the thing is like, sometimes like I can tolerate freaking cake and cookies and pancakes and I'm freaking fine from that. And then I go and eat, like a bunch of, you know, cooked vegetables with some chicken breast and I'm miserable.
Nope.
And
can't do it.
and like last night I ate some stuff that like normally does pretty well with me, but I had a little variation. I put some green peas in there and then excuse me. And then this morning I'm like, okay, I don't think I can do that anymore because I've been to the bathroom like 8 times this morning before we
That is the thing. Oh, I forgot some diagnoses. I always do that. You said bathroom. I pee every like 20 minutes. I have to pee right now, but I'm trying not to. I have, what's it called? Interstitial cystitis.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Fuck that. Basically, it means I have little holes in the lining of my bladder. And it just means that, like, first off, my bladder cannot fully empty itself. Like, it takes 3 times going to the bathroom within like a 10-minute period to fully empty my bladder. I can't do it all at once.
Oh, no.
Sometimes I'll like lean forward to get the rest out. And it's painful. So like if I have to go to the bathroom, which I have to go like 5 times an hour, it hurts. For the first couple years of this, it burned to the point where I thought that I had, like, they kept diagnosing me with bacterial vaginitis and all these infections. And I remember going to a doctor and I was like, hey, I just need another like yeast infection pill because this pain is not going away. And the doctor was like, well, are you sexually active? This was, God, 5 years ago. I said no. And she said, well, are you sure? And I was like 23. And I said, yeah, I'm sure I'm not sexually active. And she goes, okay, well, we'll just like test you for this infection, whatever. So I pee in a cup. And then 4 weeks later, I get a $300 bill for all these STD tests that were negative and a pregnancy test that was negative. And I call her and I'm like, did you test me for all these STDs? She goes, well, aren't you glad they're negative? And I was like, no, I knew they were negative. I told you not to test for them. And she was like, well, you know, all these teenagers come in saying they hadn't had sex, but then they have these diseases and they're pregnant. And I was like, I'm 23 and I don't have time for this. You're going to pay this bill. And she did.
Oh, good.
But yeah, so I went to a new gynecologist and she basically diagnosed me with pelvic floor disorders, vaginismus, and interstitial cystitis, which it's really interesting to me how like IC has been linked to a bunch of autoimmune diseases. And it's also super interesting that with pandas, kids that have pandas start to lose control of their bladder. And they just represent with all of these like frequent urination and bladder disorders. And I'm like, this is so interesting. Because in college, it really got bad to the point where I started peeing like every 15 minutes. And my poor fiance, he sits there in bed trying to get to sleep and I'm up every 5 minutes. It takes me about at least 4 times of urinating before I can get to sleep. If I go 30 minutes without using the bathroom, I have to use it before I can try to fall asleep. And yeah, and there's just like, basically I had to go to a physical therapist for my vagina.
I'm literally doing that right now.
I hate it. It's so awkward.
I've had so many like fingers up my butt and all sorts of stuff that now I'm just like, here's my vajay, do with it.
I finally got to that point and I was like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, if I ever have a kid, I'm ready. But yeah, and it's something that people don't talk about is like your sex life. Like when you have something like that, I would tell my friends, because I was a virgin until about the age of 25 because I couldn't. And they would look at me like, what are you talking? They'd be like, oh, are you saving yourself for marriage? I'm like, no, bitch, I can't have sex. And they were like, what do you mean? And I would have to explain it to them. I'm like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like it shuts itself off. And it's awkward to talk about, but it's like, it shuts off. It's like a light switch. It's done. Like, it's so painful that it just shuts off. It's like it's traumatized. I mean, she's traumatized. And they would laugh. And I'm like, it's not funny. I'm crying.
Yeah, you're like my little kitty cat.
She doesn't work. And thankfully, I went to physical therapy and, like, it's better now. But, like, it's awkward to talk about. And all these things, people don't realize it when you have a chronic illness or you're autoimmune, like it's not just kind of a one and done, like your whole body, everything has something. It's like your big toe has something wrong with it. Like everything has something. And you're like, well, that's cool.
But it feels better now when you're able to like enjoy,
not so much. I think it comes with time, and it's like anything, right? You have to, which gives me a lot of insecurities because, and I won't go into that too much because, you know, my partner is really private and I don't want to like embarrass anybody, but you know, you feel insecure within yourself when your body doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And it's, you know, I'm going to the bathroom every 5 minutes and everything is broken with my vagina and I'm allergic to myself, literally, metaphorically and medically. Like, what kind of a wife did you sign up for?
Well, and then that's really though, when it goes into like, and we only got to really touch on this at the end of our sex and intimacy episode, but where like intimacy is so much more than, you know, like sex or penetrative sex or oral sex or whatever it is. And I mean, that is truly like, I don't know, the bond. I mean, that's the bond that I want to share with somebody. And I totally do understand. There was like, I remember when I was having so many problems with my bum hole and my ex was like, you know, when are you going to start wearing thongs again? You know, thongs are sexy. And I'm like, well, now I'm super insecure about all of my underwear. Thank you so much. Now I never feel like I'm sexy. And, you know, and it's because, so I totally get like, you just never, it is really hard. And if you haven't read The Lady's Handbook to Her Mysterious Illness.
I wonder if that's where you're going with this.
It's amazing. We interviewed Sarah Ramey on our podcast. It was a long time ago now. But she had, like, she talks in her book about how, like, she also could not have sex. She had all these problems down there. And then she had, like, a time where it was better. And she was like, I'm having sex. And that was, like, her number one priority. And then, you know, obviously, like, then she's had a really tough time with it again. And her diagnosis with what she's had going on is crazy. And, I mean, she's amazing. It's an amazing book. But yeah, it's, you know, thank you for sharing that part too. And, you know, I see is like, I'm glad that you didn't forget to add that in because that's fucking huge. I mean, that's like, that is part of like your everyday life. Like you said, you got to go to the bathroom all the time.
I have these lists of problems and it's like some of the smaller ones get pushed down to the bottom. Yeah. And then my friends are like, how is that small? And I'm like, I forget that there are people that don't do this every day.
That's because the thing, isn't it?
It's so normal for you. It's your normal day-to-day life.
I'm like, oh, it's just my bladder. It's fine. Like, yeah, it just becomes so normal.
It becomes so normal. I mean, that's totally, it is like, and Chelsea and I were just talking about this the other day on a call, was like, I sometimes forget to like maybe put stuff online or post about something to realize, oh wait, someone else is also like, whoa, this is, other people feel like this, they go through this. So it's when it's like, I've been to the bathroom freaking 8 times this morning, you know, and
I just do it at this point. And you know what really ticks me off is places that are like, in order to use our bathroom, you have to buy something. And I actually realized the other day that like I could go to my doctor and get a disability card that says you have to let me use your bathroom. And I'm like, I could literally count on no hands the amount of friends that could go to their doctor and get that card. Maybe this is a legitimate problem.
100%. Yeah, you know, they have like a Crohn's card like that too. And I'm like, I really should get it because there has been several times in stores that I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have an accident or something. But
yeah, it gets so painful, like bladder wise, that I'll be in my car. Like I've had moments, and I guess I don't think about this a lot because I don't like to think about it because it's embarrassing, but I'll be sitting there just like screaming at my steering wheel, I have to pee, to distract myself, like just screaming because I'm trying to get to the nearest store and I think I'm gonna like pee all over my seat, and I don't want to have to clean that up in my car, and I don't know what to do, and it's embarrassing. Like I can't, and there are days where I'm like, why does it feel like I have a bladder and like a pelvic area of like a woman who's given birth 5 times?
I know,
what is that? Dude. And I'm like, this all has to be connected. That's when I started to call.
Don't even. Oh, sorry. I think I freaking froze there, but I was going to say, forget like jumping jacks or trampolines, like to hell with that.
Oof, like it hurts. And I don't know.
So for your job, do you like, oh my God, I'm breaking up. I'm so sorry. I'm like delayed now.
I think you're good now.
Okay, I was just gonna ask, for your job, do you work like in person and are they chill about it?
So I've been at my job for a year. It's my dream job. I applied to this company for like 10 years. I mean, I think I interviewed for my job for like 6 months. They hired somebody else first, and then I kept interviewing, and then they hired me. But for the first 6 months, yeah, we have an office. I work in the like media WSB office. And then basically when COVID started, we started working from home in March, and we haven't gone back. So I mean, it's been a transition for me, but like when I was in the office, I actually talked with people about it regularly, and they're like, you should talk about this on air, or like so many people would listen to this. And I'm like, so people actually want to hear stories here. That's interesting. Because I used to work at a bunch of offices that were like, maybe don't say that too loud because people are going to judge you. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll just do my work then. And now it's like working in an entertainment kind of field and a vibe where like interesting stories are respected. And it's just like, oh, you should go. Yeah, like you should go talk about that because so-and-so would listen to it. Or it's very interesting to be in like a storytelling type of career because people want to know who you are rather than like, oh, let's keep that hush hush. Like, don't bring that to work. So
I like that, a storytelling career.
Yeah. That's what I like to think of myself as. Yeah. Like I think that all creatives are just storytellers. Like no matter if it's radio, TV, news, like if we're talking about podcasts, Instagram, social media, like anything, if you're a writer, if you're an actor, like you're a storyteller. And that's what we all have in common.
Yes.
I love it. Oh my goodness. Ashley, I feel like we could talk to you all day long.
Let's do
I know.
it.
I'm like, I wish we could hang out.
Where are you guys based?
We're in Kansas.
Okay, cool.
So we're not like too far from friggin' Atlanta.
Oh yeah, not too far. Same place. It's fine. We have like tornadoes.
We're basically neighbors.
There is a direct flight from Wichita to Atlanta, which does not happen very often. We don't have a lot of direct flights, so that's nice.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
I know you said that you have to pee, and I want to respect that. So thank you. Seriously, thank you so much for talking to us. This conversation has been amazing. We're probably going to have to chat again because I feel like as we were talking, there were so many different layers. And so I would love to continue this conversation at another time to just
I'm so down for that.
Deeper. Yay. I mean, you're really vulnerable with sharing what you're going through. And I think it is so fascinating about how like your whole PANDAS basically diagnosis connects to so many of the other things that you experience in your life. Like that is very, very interesting.
It's a weird umbrella that you almost have to pick like one topic at a time to actually reach that audience or to like go into it. Like it's a lot.
But thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. This has been so much fun.
Casper the Friendly Whore approves.
Yes.
Yay. Awesome. Well, Ashley, thank you so much.
Wait, where can people
Ashley. Where can people find you on the interwebs? Because
people can find me watching YouTube at 2 a.m. Just kidding. People can find me. So my Instagram is Lapin Studios. That's not how you say it in French, but it's how we say it in America, I guess. LAPIN_studios. And then that's where I am everywhere else.
Perfect. Okay.
There you go.
Yes. And Ashley shares a lot of stuff that we have, and then we reshare her onto our stories. So if you just
I do not have an OnlyFans. I'm sorry.
But go follow her. Go see her amazing energy in person through the internet.
Yeah, your Instagram is like so gorgeous and glittery and sparkly, which I love.
I love it.
I also like show my buck teeth a lot because I'm very ashamed of them and I'm trying not to be. So if you want to go like my teeth pictures and not leave hate comments about my teeth, thank you.
I had buck teeth too. You can't see.
Oh my God, neither of you do. Your teeth are so cute.
My heart just skipped a beat because my shower leaked and I thought it was my dog pissing on my stuff.
I know. I'm so glad that's not.
Speaking of having to pee. Okay, so before we shut off, can I do like a cute little boomerang so I can post about it?
Yes, please do.
Okay, let me get it pulled up here. It usually takes me 2 tries because I cut somebody off.
Mostly your own head.
Yeah, it's mostly myself. I just need to like get it.
And
Okay.
please like tag me and everything because I'm the biggest whore online. I will repost it all.
Oh my God, dude. I love that we love so much that you do. Okay, everybody is in. Okay, you guys are dancing already. Okay, it's pretty good. I need to redo it because I was moving my arm. I got to keep this freaking arm still.
Z.
I know. I always have to do it 2 times. Okay. Oh, okay, wait. You guys are, keep going. Just keep going.
Are we done yet, Cass? Are we good?
Oh my God, it's perfect. Yes. Okay, I get it. Look at you.
I like that this is the end result.
I was moving my hand because I was too excited, so it was just looking like this. But now I got it.
Please
and it's
do this
perfect.
again. I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was really fun.
Oh my God, we're so glad that you did because yeah, this would be wonderful to like get you on again here soon. And yeah, we will tag you and stuff. It's so great to connect. I'm so glad that we like met each other. This is so much fun. Yay.
All right, well, y'all
Hey.
have a good Saturday.
Thanks, you too.
We'll talk soon.
Bye.
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 We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please write us a review to help us reach more people like you.
If you'd like to connect with Cassie and I, you can find us on Instagram at The Real Spoonies Unite. You can also join our private Facebook community, Spoonies Unite, or you can visit our website, therealspooniesunite.com, for all sorts of resources and to stay up to date with our current projects. And don't worry, you can find all of these links in the show notes below.
Thank you to our wonderful Spoony patrons for all your support, and you can become one too. That's right. All you have to do is go on over to patreon.com/therealspooniesunite, and you can get all sorts of extra goodies like videos of our episodes and more.
Any support is greatly appreciated. It helps enable us to create more content for all of you, as well as make this podcast sound better and better. Thanks for listening. We can't wait to be back in your ears soon.